This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Joni Iraci. You're an author, and we're going to talk to you today about your work. I want to welcome you to the Fam Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing?
Thank you. Great. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to talk to people live, and we are live at the moment on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick. And before we get to the heart of your story, we always ask guests a couple of questions. What motivates you, and why do you do what you do?
What motivates me? Well, I get an idea and then I have to run with it. So I'll get an idea. For example, my book, Vatican Daughter, I was standing in St. Peter's Square in Rome, and I looked at the basilica, and the muse hit, and I thought, wonder what's going on in there now, because there were so many scandals. And I got the title in my head first, and then I thought, what if a girl's involved in some scandal? And then I just put it aside because I went back to school in my old age, and I wrote another book. And then I usually just, something sparks. It's writing is my call of the wild. So I get an idea and then I run with it. I go down all these rabbit holes doing research, and I come up with, it just flows. So I put that aside for about 10 years, and then I went back to it. I went back to Italy, and I walked 88 miles through Rome and Venice and got the lay of the land. Also got COVID.
Oh,
So before anybody knew what it was, and that was crazy. And then I just came home and I wrote every day for a year. I treated it like a job. So
wow.
8 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was really driven and motivated. Not so much anymore. I'm a little burned out, but I have 3 novels in the works right now. I have to kind of concentrate on one, but that's what happens. I get an idea, and then I start writing.
Have you always been an author, or did you come to it at a certain point?
Oh, well, I kind of wrote bad poetry when, I had teenage angst when I was a kid. So I kind of, would sit in my room and write stuff, but not seriously. And then I was good at it. So I was good at grammar, and so I was good at English in school. So I was really good at writing, and people would ask me to write letters for them, and when they couldn't do it themselves. So I would do that. And then I'm a nurse. I'm a retired RN. So that involved a little bit of writing, about the patients and things like that, but not creative writing.
Hmm.
And then, but I always wanted to do it, and I was an avid reader. So I went back to school in my late 50s, and I went to Sarah Lawrence College in Bronxville, and they had this continuing education for adults. Well, who knew 20-year-olds were adults? I thought I'd be with old ladies, and it wasn't the case, but it was a great experience. I had a lot of fun, and I was everybody's mom, of course, including some of the professors who were like younger than my kids. But that's when I started really writing seriously in workshops, right? Brutal workshops. Kids are smart, and they're smart, book smart, but not necessarily life
Life
smart.
smart. Yeah, they don't have the
I
experience.
would write things and they tell me that could never happen. That's not true, and I just laugh and say, well, you'll find out, and so then I started writing my first book, Reinventing Jenna Rose, in a workshop at Sarah Lawrence with a wonderful professor who's also an author. And she was very helpful. And she was kind of my age. So then I got jury duty. So it's an interesting trajectory. So I got picked for federal criminal court,
Oh,
3 months of jury, in downtown Manhattan, and that was unbelievable. So I had a court scene in my novel that I had to rip up.
you're absorbed. That's
I
the
had
thing.
to rip it up because it was 35 pages of a court scene based on Law and Order, and it's not reality at all. So that really, I loved it. It was
Yeah.
scary. It was a gang, murder and mayhem and all that. But the judge, it's so weird how life works. The judge's wife was a writer. So I met with him after the case was over, and he was very helpful and answered my questions about witnesses and,
Oh,
are
so
they.
you could do the he actually got like real
Yeah, so
details.
I ripped up my 35 pages of the court scene and I rewrote it. And that was my thesis at Columbia. So I got accepted to Columbia and accepted on a jury on the same day. I came
Wow.
home from my first day, in court. I came home and my son said, "There's some professor called you." I applied on a lark. I never in a million years thought I would get accepted to a master's program at Columbia. Come on, And yeah, they call you up to accept you. So I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody was playing a
Oh
trick on
my
me.
God.
So yeah, but there's no humor in academia, so I would just make them laugh. What are they going to do to me? So it was fun. It was very hard. I mean, it wasn't easy, and the kids were super, super smart, brainiacs, and I took all kinds of writing classes and Russian
That
literature.
was like so literature or English, was that what your major?
Well, no, I have an MFA in creative writing,
Okay,
so
right.
it's in fiction. So some like award-winning professors, Deborah Eisenberg, who wins tons of money on her short stories, and Pulitzer Prize-winning authors. So it was a great experience, and um, I learned a lot. A lot of reading, though. 1,200 pages a week, so my eyes were burning and bleeding. And it was like an Olympic event because I lived in the suburbs and I had to take 4 trains. So that was, I wasn't rolling out of bed and going to class, so that
But I
was tough.
think like I'm 58 and what I remember, I mean, I went to Bowdoin and my brother, he went to Brown and Harvard Law. So I've been familiar with having to read that much. Because like that's the level that you have to do when you're in those type of schools.
Yeah.
And I'm
Right.
just wondering with the kids today with the short attention span.
Oh,
So
I'll tell you what they do. They read on their phones.
do they read on their
They
phone?
skim it. I remember Sigrid Nunez was one of my professors, and she is awesome. She just has a book out now. She won the National Book Award for The Friend. And we were standing in the hall. I kind of had a relationship with some of them because they were my age. And she goes, "Look at that kid. She's reading the book. She's not even halfway through it, and we're going to discuss it in 5 minutes." But that's what they would do, like they would have the book. They can flub it, they just know how to do it. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I knew the kids who were doing the Cliff Notes back in the day, but
yeah.
the tech now with between the AI and
uh,
the smartphones and they can. But the thing is, I always tell people, it's like if you read Herman Melville, Moby Dick, right, and you skim it, that's not the point. The
that's not
point is to actually absorb it, right? So if you don't read
right.
Camus or Sartre and or all
Yeah,
this great the Iliad, you don't. If you think you're cheating, you're cheating yourself.
exactly right. I read every word, and we had to do analysis, literary analysis. So how are you going to do that if you're not reading the
You're
whole thing?
flubbing it, yeah.
What's the point? Oh, it was a whale, It's like,
Yeah, well, so yeah, it's like to me, it's like creativity is so interesting, like the permission structure. Because I talk to a lot of creative people, and I always wonder what's the moment where you felt you had the permission to actually have a voice and put it into the ether? Because there's a lot of
and it
people,
takes a lot.
yeah,
Well, for someone like me, because I was a lot older, so, I just didn't have the confidence. I mean, I don't think self-esteem was invented till the '80s when my kids were born, because nobody cared when I was growing up, like what you thought or how you felt, or, there was none of that. Or like a teacher was mean to you, oh, so what? It's your fault. So that's how I grew. So it took a lot, and for people to tell me. Of course, one professor was at Sarah Lawrence was, I think she was one of the founders of Ms. Magazine back
mm,
in the day, and she was about 1,000 years old, and they were really cheating in her class. Oh my God, they weren't even listening. But she said, "Oh, you're the best writer in the class." Well, considering everybody was like 18,
yeah, yeah, you got the life experience.
I wasn't all that thrilled,
There's
but
not enough life experience with the younger people unless they have
no,
a really amazing imagination.
they
Like,
do.
if
That's true. And then, of course, it was a whole different they were a little older at Columbia in the master's program, but not much. I was still the eldest, light years older, light years older. And I mean, I got my master's when I was 66. So,
Yeah, it's
that's
kind of
how,
like the Jack Kerouac thing, like being on the road, like living life. Because like artists, what I've noticed, because I'm a musician, but like artists, we tend to absorb everything around us, right? But we
yes,
also can read our subconscious, right?
right,
So we're able to pull in our dreams, our subconscious stuff, and then we got our 10,000, 100,000 hours, right, of
right,
doing the craft. And it's that synthesis of the internal and the external and how you can work that with
right.
your vision. And that's what makes you like have a secret sauce. Like why would somebody want to read your book versus somebody else's book? Is like your voice, like
That's
how
right.
you do your voice.
That's right. Well, nobody, I don't know, like people teach writing, of course, and I'm about to do that, teach a writing workshop, but you can no more teach somebody to write than you can teach them to wonder. You can't, like, you have to have that in you. Like, you hear music probably in everywhere
Yeah.
because you're a musician. And I like love to walk on the streets of Manhattan, when it's safe. Because I listen to other people's conversations. Like it's a wealth of
Yeah,
information.
it's
Like
everything. You
a
walk into
wealth
a
of
coffee shop,
material.
you walk into a restaurant and you happen to hear somebody at another table. I've had so many writers tell me like they get so much from the external world
That's right.
that they
That's right.
pull in, and it's just like because we have our feelers out, our antennas out, we're picking it up.
I could write a sitcom about living in Florida, believe me, but I have to use a pen name. Yeah, so, of course, my upbringing was Catholic, punitive all the time, sin
Mhm.
around it, lurking around every corner. So, and then when I was an adult, I was in the thick of the scandals in the Northeast, Massachusetts and
Oh yeah,
all that. So, and I was there. I mean, this one particular clergy was up to no good. And so, that's what fueled the story.
gave you the real life situation, and you say, hey, what if I
Was
actually take that?
it was inspired by all of that and it came together. So it's about, a cardinal who's about to ascend the throne of St. Peter, and he has pangs of guilt because he had an affair with a journalist in Italy. I go to Italy a lot. So he had an affair, and she's about to give birth. So he knows that, and he confesses to this cardinal who is corrupt, and that unleashes this whole murderous spree. They kidnap the kid and the baby, and blah 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 blah. So I mean, that came from a medley of all different stories I had in my head and ideas. And then as I did a ton of research, tons and tons of research. So as I was doing research, I was looking up Italian last name, Jewish last names for a character. And I came upon the true life story of papal kidnappings of Jewish children in 1859 by the
Oh,
then Pope. So that was it was validating because it really happened.
real life
And
scenario.
I did an interview back in April. My book came out in the end of April and May 1st. And I did this interview, and the host said, "Listen, I read the book, and it's plausible, but there'll never be an American Pope because I made him American Pope, thinking there'll never be an
You're
American."
the American Pope.
And then a month later, we had an American Pope. But I thought my publisher should have built on that a little bit. But when things happen, I think if this all had happened to me when I was younger, it wouldn't have. I would have written just probably medical stories or who knows what.
Mhm.
But I have all this life that I can, you know, feed off of, so to speak, to write. And then, of course, you become braver when you're older because what do you have to lose? Well,
Yeah, there's nothing to lose.
I don't care. So I wrote an email to Steve Berry, the prolific thriller writer. And I said, sorry for the intrusion, but I have this book and I'm looking for a publisher. And if it gets published, would you consider writing an endorsement? He emailed me back, sure.
You just said, "Sure?" Like, how rare is that?
Right,
'Cause
right,
how many
right,
people
I know,
like
like, blah, 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 let me know. So, a year later, a whole year went by, and I got a publisher, and, wrote back, and I said, "I need an endorsement, I need it fast." He said, "Send me the manuscript, and I'll have it for you," and he did, he wrote a blurb, and then I drove to Orlando, which was like 500 miles, to go, meet him. He was doing a book event. I waited online like everybody else, and I had his book for him to sign and my book. And I put my book down, and he said, "I know this book." So he's a great guy. He's very, very nice, and not too many would. Dan Brown said no, and I knew him, so he doesn't do anything. They get very
Yeah.
themselves. I help young authors who, I've been through it all. I mean, the thing with writing now is there's so many scammers out there, like you mentioned before, with the AI and all of
Yeah,
that.
AI books,
I just got I got one today. This oh, I belong to some book group, and if you give us whatever, 25, $30, we'll present your book. And I looked, it's an actual book club, but they don't charge authors. They don't even contact authors. So it's a scam. And
yeah.
they're all Gmail, they all have this, I mean, oh my God,
Yeah,
pretend
there's a lot of the thing I hate is, like, it's the overproduction, like in music. There's so much music because everybody can just put their stuff on streaming,
yeah.
and so it gets an overload of, like, the Amazon books or the AI books and all these books are like and the people like, if you overload things with a noise, becomes harder to discern, but, I think the cream goes to the top because there's still people that want good work in
I
every
I
type
hope
of
so.
thing.
I hope you're right, but it's the marketing is the tough part. It's so hard to market, especially, I didn't grow up with computers or anything like that, so I had to learn. I helped the kids, they were kids, but I call them, they were really toddlers to me, but I called them kids, and I helped them with life. I also fed them because college kids are starving.
Yeah, they
So
can't.
we go out to dinner and things like that, and they helped me with technology because I couldn't figure out how to format or do any of that stuff, and it had to be formatted a certain way, your thesis, and yeah. So, it was a, symbiotic kind of relationship, and it
And
was
also,
fun.
like, in the writing world, you were able to get a big like, a good endorsement. Did you go through, like, the beta reader type stuff, or did
Uh,
you use the people that
yeah,
you knew?
I used people that I knew mostly. I mean, my world got bigger, of course, because you're right, I'm on Instagram and all of that stuff, and you have to weed through to see, but, I get contacted through my website, and you meet some legitimate people. They're not all scammers, but some really good authors like Ellen Racklin. She wrote this amazing historical book about the first writer in 3000 BC called
Oh, wow.
Enheduanna. She's awesome. She's actually an investment banker, and she's a brilliant writer and poet. And
Yeah, well, the
that's
Rolodex method is pretty good. I mean, some people are always looking for this other kinda I've always kind of been the person because in my day job, I'm working software design, and I just think the job sites are terrible today, and I just use the old method of, like, Rolodex,
cool.
like people
I
know.
can
Like,
relate.
if you just if you actually pick up your phone, your smartphone, and you actually use it as a phone and actually call somebody instead of texting somebody
I hate
and have the
texting.
conversation, then go meet them in a coffee shop and
They don't
talk.
know how to talk, though. I mean, it's all kinds of things that, I mean, when I was in school, I was always chastising the young people because they were like, "What are you doing on your phone?" "Oh, I'm making a date from some dating app. We're gonna meet in Central Park." I was like, "Brilliant, that's really smart," like crazy things like never happened in my day, but you know.
Yeah, it's just like there seems to be a lack of capability of communication that,
Well, it's gonna get worse because it's just getting more and more people get more and more insulated. They don't have to
yeah,
go out. You can work remotely. You can, you don't even. I don't know. My publisher keeps telling me, well, people don't read anymore in this country. So they're from the UK, so they could say that. But
Yeah,
I
you
don't
might
know
say
if
that.
that's true. I don't know that's their excuse why the sales aren't so great. But you know,
Well, I
I don't
think
have another
yeah,
book coming out.
it's
So
hard to target because like people say, well, people don't listen to music, but there's a whole bunch of people still listening to full albums, but
of
they're
course,
listening to albums that are actually better than some of the albums today. so
absolutely.
so if you're listening to something like 74 or 68 or 52, like you'll stay in it. You'll listen to the whole thing.
Exactly. Well, they're classic. This other stuff,
The
whatever.
other stuff is like,
This noise.
is that a jingle? Is that just a groove? What problem I have is like when you're an artist, you got to get somebody to stay in your book. Right? Like, and as a musician, I got maybe 5 to 10 seconds for somebody to stay in my song. They've heard the first, and then a lot of times they'll just skip it if they don't get brought in. So then you have to like push a bunch of stuff up to the front that in the 70s you would allow people to percolate. And maybe they would
Now
find that
it's
a minute, two
everything's
minutes in.
right. That's why I told my publisher I need an audio book because people don't sit down. They'll listen when they're
Oh,
ready.
you're gonna do that?
They don't want to do that. They don't have the money or something.
Oh, that's yeah, 'cause
I
audio I
know.
do talk to
I'll
a lot
do
of
it.
authors that are doing that.
I'll do it myself in a year or so, but I have another book coming out. So I finished this one, and then I started querying literary agents, which was like hell, hell, hell. That you'd write, everybody wants something different. So you write this, you write this query letter, and then they either write back or they don't write back or they completely ignore you. Not for us. Like that's all you get.
Mhm. Not for you,
So,
yeah.
one wanted it, but she wanted me to rewrite the whole thing according to the way she wanted it to happen. So I
Mhm.
wasn't willing to do that. And and I had no intention of writing another book. I didn't have any intention of writing a series, but I woke up with the first line in my head. And sometimes I read what I wrote before I go to sleep at night, and it
Click.
ends. So I woke up with the first line in my head, and that I just banged out. So that's coming out sometime in February, and that's called Women of a Lesser God. So that's
That's cool. So you have you like the stream of consciousness type of thing? Like if you get something that really like perks your attention,
then
you get pulled into it and then you go with it.
I go with it, but it's not been happening lately. I'm trying. It's
Well,
just
the
like,
muse is it's always interesting, like the Victorians. I was really into Victorian poetry when
oh
I was
yeah,
at Bowdoin. I
I
was in it
love
again.
that kind of stuff.
But the idea of the muse, like, and the kids today, when they talk about muse, they say, "Oh, you mean a download from the universe?" I say, "Okay, that's what you want to call it." Like, I
Not
call it
what
the muse.
it is. Yeah, that's true. That's so crazy. I know it's a different language. What can I say?
Yeah,
Even
it's the same
like
idea. But
same idea, but yeah. So that's what happened. But I spent a lot of time in Rome and Venice, so I knew. The book got a couple of awards. Vatican Daughter got a couple of awards. Best thriller, best conspiracy thriller from some indie award, and so that's cool. But
do you think? Like, I always like to ask people, like, with a lot of intellectual property or books, people media say, "Well, hey, can I put this on streaming? Can I get this on one of the streaming services as a series or a
mm,
movie, like a 10 episode series to be representative of like a big movie of the book, or
right.
actually do a traditional book or a teleplay or screen or stage play? Have you thought of like other multimedia applications for
I
your idea?
would love it. I would love it, but not so far. All I get is like scammy
Scammy
Instagrammers,
people, yeah.
reels. I did talk about being brave when you're old. I filled out a form for WABC in New York. It's some sort of media company, right? And the president actually wrote back to me and said, "Great, when you're in New York, blah, 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 like we'll meet and do this." And then I wrote again and I got nothing. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, sometimes you gotta follow up these people, I don't know, sometimes, like, you get these the people will ping you, and then you get all hyped, And it's like it happens like, and I think in all genres, like you get people, it's like, well, like you get some big music producer and they say, hey, I listened to your thing on SoundCloud. And then you go like, is that really them? You go check in to see,
and they're
is
not.
that really,
This was
is that their
really
real
him.
email? Is that their
This was,
real
yeah,
stuff?
it was really him, but I don't know. I think it happened during some, I forgot what it was, some scandal like he was involved with. Oh, the Jimmy Kimmel scandal or
Oh,
something.
that thing.
So I think he was probably distracted.
Got distracted. Maybe got to remind them. Like,
Like you talk about how you're inspired. So I was on a plane coming back from Venice, and the Italians know how to fly, and they know how to land. We don't know how to land here. We go, they land, right? So we're on the plane and we're almost home and almost in New York. And the pilot comes on and says, we're landing in Halifax because somebody's sick. Are you kidding me?
oh, you
So
got
this
it early because somebody's sick.
somebody's sick. We're landing in Halifax in Canada. And that's brilliant, right? So this huge plane lands in this like wilderness. It was so crazy. And then we sat there for 2 hours. Well, I wrote a story. It's on my website. I think it's on my website called Distractions about that whole.
That thing that happened, like a short story. So you like to do like short stories or
I
different types of
do
form?
short stories. Not often. I usually I talk a lot, so I write a lot too. So short stories are not really my thing. I try
Mhm.
to write, flash fiction and things like that. But we have this ridiculous community here, and they asked me to write short stories for the newsletter. I said,
Oh.
okay, I get one critique and I'm done. Okay, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear
It's
it.
kinda like the back in the day, you had the Reader's Digest, you got the Atlantic, you got
Listen,
all
they
these different
paid
magazines you
though.
could write in. Do you find it like all that stuff's on the web now? You find places you
Yeah,
can sit, you put your stories?
but that was a paying venue. No, try to get paid now. All these literary journals, they don't want to pay.
Yeah,
I
'cause you
write,
used to actually pay people, yeah.
yeah, now writers. I don't know what they think. Like,
Well, it's like music. Music, nobody wants to pay you. They wanna pay you like 0.005 of a penny.
yeah, right. What
That's
about
what they try to pay you.
I belong to the Editors Freelancers Association. That's another thing, like 1 cent a word or whatever. I'm like, 2 cents a word. I just did this editing for this woman. It was,
Yeah.
so bad. But you know,
Yeah,
um,
you gotta increase your rate.
everybody thinks they can write too. That's another thing.
Yeah,
New thing. Everybody thinks they're like, oh my God, can't. How hard can it be?
well, especially with the AI, because I get like I was talking to some tech bro.
You can tell.
Well, this tech bro came in and basically was saying that the stuff he was doing was no, they won't need to be writers, musician, artists, actors. Everything will be compute. And I'm like,
I don't think so.
I told him, it's like, okay, like when you want to have a nice dinner, do you go to the franchise or do you go to the Michelin chef restaurant? Right? You probably want to go to a Michelin chef restaurant. You want to go to that franchise all the time. You're going to tell me the whole world is going to be like franchise, like junk food art. That you tell me that's what everybody's going to want.
Did you ever see
I
that movie Idiocracy? Did you ever see that?
yeah, yeah. I think that's what it is.
That's what it is. That's where we're going. They'll be watering the plants with Gatorade and wondering why they don't grow. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's just
It's
I understand
scary.
them. They want to make the profit model be these tech guys. They want to own all creativity and they want to think that their tools can make anybody, any Joe or Mary Jane, an artist. Which
Maybe maybe in the future, but right now it's not there yet. Not even
no,
close.
it's not.
It
It's a
'Cause you
lot of
can
slop.
tell somebody just won, I think it was in England, won a big time prize for a novel, and it was all AI written. I mean, really?
But
Um,
'cause a lot of times it
we don't
steals.
read here, but we would know that. I'm
Well,
sorry.
yeah, but I think the problem is that AI just steals what's out there.
Of
And so
course,
if it actually is put together with a lot of stuff that was actually good, but all that good work was like your work, right?
right.
All the good writers, it steals all their ideas and then doesn't pay them. Unlike in sampling for music, you have to clear the sample of the artist you take the song from, and you actually have to pay them. But the way this tech is working for stuff that's like written, it's hard to actually get paid because there's always this learning on your work. But then it's like, if it makes money on my work, it needs to pay me.
Well, somebody I know writes lyrics and he sent them to me, that sent the song, actual artist's voice. I didn't see a face or anything. And I said, "Oh my God, you got a great voice." "That's not me. That's AI singing my lyrics." I was like,
Yeah,
this,
that's the new thing. That's the new
how
trend.
is that? That
But
to me,
but
that's
they
not
don't pay you. Like, if you generate your thing, that you won't get paid. You can put it out, but they won't pay you. So
well,
I'm like,
surely
what's the point of actually putting it out if you
what is
can't get
the
paid?
point? Exactly. I don't know. Just, oh well, you have your name out there. I don't know.
Yeah, I it's
I
like people
at a point in my life where I'm not doing it for free anymore. I
well,
have
yeah,
done
I think every artist,
it for free.
if you think about it, like, you wanna express, like, what you feel, like, as a like, what you have passion about. So you have this idea and you get passionate, and a lot of artists, like, you have to work, like, in your own space.
Mhm.
So before the world gets your work, you might spend a year, you might spend 2 years, and you're really
So
insular.
there's hope.
Yeah, well, I think that's all our yeah, my daughter's a graphic artist.
Oh,
My wife is a writer, and I'm a musician, and, I do creative design and stuff. And what we find is, like, we all have our working spaces, and, like, if we're in our working space, it's like, don't bug us.
well, that's another thing. Yeah, that's the problem. That's why I wrote distractions because it's just like you get into the zone and then the phone rings, the door. I turn the phone off, but the doorbell or whoever that wants something. Yeah. So my
Yeah,
book is a thriller. Of course, it's historical. It's a thriller, but I give the reader a reprieve because I'm a foodie.
mm,
So they, the character is you walk the streets of Rome and Venice and the floods and you get to you get to eat the food in the different restaurants that I know. So I hope I get something when I go back, and the hotels and things like that.
that's
So
something that you like to travel Italy, so you actually have that real world experience
yeah,
of
it's
actually tasting the food and being in the environment.
it's rather cinematic. So it would be nice. I saw some Italian actress, don't ask me her name, I never heard of her, but she has some reel on Instagram. So I said, she's got the perfect hair color. She would play the Sophia character in my book. And yeah, and then I saw Virginia Bocelli is Andre Bocelli's daughter. She'd be perfect for
For the
that.
role.
But
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do about it. Back in the day, I used to know Ron Howard, but I wouldn't. He lived near us when my kids
Oh,
were in
wow.
school. My kids went to school with his kids, and my daughter's still friends. But he's not the type where you could send him a manuscript.
Yeah, he's not gonna read it.
Yeah, he'll throw it out for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
What I
people like
miss about New York because you could be on an elevator with somebody, like some
yeah.
or you could be on the street corner or wherever, Sarah Jessica Parker I missed my opportunity. I was having dinner with, at my friend's restaurant in the village that subsequently closed, but I was having dinner with people it was like listening to paint dry. They were so boring. And Sarah Jessica Parker was at the next table and that was a missed opportunity. She's very sweet, but could
Yeah,
have,
it's cool to be in an environment if you have, like, the talent around. It's like, I remember, like, I've always liked these artist collectives because I know, like, I have a best friend, and his daughter went out to LA to be, like, in this music kinda area where there's a lot of, like,
yeah,
indie singer-songwriters, and she purposely put herself in this kinda, like, it's
yeah,
not like a commune, but they're all sharing apartments, they like 4
yeah,
kids, and it's the only way you can really get into that kind of world, you gotta be, like, in it. You have to, and then you kinda feed off of it.
yeah. My nephew and his fiance, she's an actress and a screenwriter. They moved out to LA.
Mhm.
She's young. I mean, they're young. She's trying to make it out there. Hope so. She's
Yeah,
good.
if you can put yourself in an environment, we get these, musicians, we put ourselves in collectors instead of going with, like, being one band, you go out with, like, 10 bands.
Right.
They try to own the club. that they go to. So if you grab with 10 bands that run that club for like 6 hours, then you can move to the next, and it's all part of like one collective show. And if you can put yourself in the environment where you're around writers,
Yeah.
like back in the day where like Lou Reed
Here.
was hanging out with like Andy
That's how,
Warhol, you had Lou Reed and Andy Warhol and all these artists
oh,
and
yeah.
painters and stuff hanging out.
Or in the 20s, like the movie Midnight in Paris,
Mhm.
where he goes back in time, and Luke Wilson, I think it is, goes back in time to, do you ever see that? It's
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a cool.
Woody Allen. Yeah, I mean, imagine, that would be awesome.
Yeah, there's being these collectives, like, go to Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, back in the day when you had all those, like, the hippie artists all hanging out together, all kind of feeding off each other. Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, and Henry, all
Oh,
these guys are kind of bouncing off each other. Zappa, they're all talking. That's to me is like
yeah,
the problem
and her either.
a lot of music today, everybody's like on their computer in their room.
No, that's not creative.
They compare it to being like in Haight-Ashbury back in the day, right? Or even when Dylan was like in Tin Pan Alley and he was with all these like folkies and he
Yeah,
just absorbed all the folkies, and he figured it out.
that's right. But that's not how it is now. It's
No,
a
I think
shame.
you lose a lot.
The death of culture, the death of creativity. I don't know. Who knows which way it's going to go? Maybe it'll turn around, come back. I doubt it.
Oh no, my daughter's 25 and she's actually with a bunch of people that are actually trying to do that again. They're little groups of like younger people, like
Good.
in their 20s that are trying to do this stuff again because they're like looking and say, I don't see it, so let's go create it. So
That's great, though. I mean, she gets that from you, right?
yeah, I think you gotta take advantage. Like when you go take your pen and go to the page or take your fingers and go down a typewriter or the keyboard, you have to make that choice, right, to do the work. Because you can have the idea in your head, but if you don't put it
Oh, I
get it
know.
out.
Tell me about it, because it's been percolating, but I tell them, oh, I'm writing 3 novels, and then I go, no, that's a lie. I'm actually thinking about it. But,
Mhm.
I have 3 started, but which one do I do? I don't know. We'll see. Different variations of it, but that's how it works. People say write every day. I don't I don't. And people say outline, do outline. I don't know. Outline. I have scraps of paper everywhere.
Yeah, but that's kind of like a method.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking to a filmmaker, and they had this kind of very chaotic method that was not sequential.
Exactly.
Everything was everywhere.
That's what I have.
Yeah, that's a very
Well,
common
I'm a
artistic
paper
method.
person because you never know what's going to happen with this computer, So I have paper.
Paper everywhere. I think it's a cool thing because I would have like Post-it notes
Yep.
all over the place,
But I did
and
Vatican Daughter Post-it note. I had Post-it notes everywhere. I had pieces of paper, scraps, notebooks, different notebooks. Yeah, that's how. And then you put them all together. There you
yeah,
go.
really kind of just grab it from wherever wherever you are. With the art with the musicians, like we do voice memos. So I do a voice memo, or even have an old school recorder with a
I
tape.
just plow a
Go
little.
go out for a walk and actually kind of talk to myself while I'm in the woods. Like in the woods in New Hampshire, there's nobody around, so I
Yeah,
can get away
yeah.
with
There's
it.
no woods. There's no woods here. We're all palm trees. I miss
But you
that.
can kinda take a nice walk in the woods and to kind of record something to yourself while you're out walking, and it's just cool. I mean, however you wanna come up with something, but it's just as long as you, like, find a way to put it down and
Sure.
then get back to it, and I
That's
wonder they have like you mentioned, like, you had an idea and you kinda sat on it for, like, a couple of like, oh, it was like a decade or so. You can take ideas when you're creative and you go back into your archive of things and you say, "Hey, now this works."
exactly. It's when the muse is working.
Yeah.
That's what hap Well, I had to read all that work. I had to read other people's work, in school and workshops. I had to read other people's writing or students' writing and then critique it, and it's very time consuming. And then there was, write your own on top of that, something that you could present. And so I presented my first book totally different than the way it ended up. My first book, Reinventing Jenna Rose, and that was my thesis. So my thesis reader was Ben Metcalf, who was the former editor of Harper's. He's a riot. Okay.
Mhm.
He took his sweet time. So I didn't think I thought I'd be like 80 years old by the time I graduated, but he finally got around to it, and he wrote, well, I really like this, but she needs to roll up her sleeves and rewrite this or tell me to blankety blank. So I told him to blankety blank, and then I rewrote it, and then it was published. So yeah. So,
That's the work. I mean, the thing is, like, anytime, like, it's interesting because, like, we're musicians, we run it into our producer and our recording engineers, and we might think we got, before we show our demo, we probably think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Then you show it to the engineer and the producer, and they're like, "No, you gotta rejigger the whole thing." And then you're like deflated, but then
deflated.
it's like, wait a minute, okay, I'll take
Take
a
a
breath,
breath,
get back in.
take some time, and get back into it. Yeah, that's exactly right. But I 10 years later, just now, I wrote a sequel to that. So it's still sitting on my computer, but I'm going to rewrite the first book
Mhm.
and then republish it because it's choppy, like I have a friend who's awesome, and she's like, she critiques, but she's good at it, and
It's
she's
gonna
not
give you
mean
a good
at
positive
all. Like,
feedback,
some of
yeah.
them are so mean. Oh my God. And she's right, because the first book, first book.
Yeah, your first piece of
And
work, I mean, you
yeah,
go back and then
yeah,
you can always, like, fix it.
fix it. And then, well, I had it was my publisher was, and the contract was up, so I took it back, and a friend published it under his imprint and then kind of vaporized, so it's kind of self-published anyway, Ingram under his imprint, but I'm going to take it down and redo that in my spare time, and then republish both of them. So we'll see. You know, it's all the marketing is the biggest problem, and it's marketing is so time consuming that it takes
Right,
away
it's
from
a lot of
writing,
effort.
and it
Well,
and it's
that's like 90%. Like, a lot of
it's
times
90%, and it crushes your creativity.
yeah,
It,
that's why a
it's
lot of artists have a hard time because, like, they're like, "I wanna go work on my next piece of work, but you tell me I gotta spend 89% of my time still pushing something I'm done with."
and money, because I didn't grow up with all this techno stuff. So
Yeah.
I had marketers and big bucks, like tons of money
Yeah, it costs a
in
lot
the
of money.
last year and a half. And yeah, so I just complained to my marketer, to my publisher. I said, it's 6 weeks to get a book from Amazon. Something's going on here. So he goes, well, it didn't sell that much. It's been a year. You need to do more consumer marketing. I almost put my fist to are you kidding? Why don't you do something? You get all the money. I get very little of it. They
Yeah,
get
they
paid.
push it all the artists have to spend,
Yeah,
like,
you have
all
to
the
do
money.
it. Yeah, so they
Used
can.
to be yeah. It
It's
used to be the
crazy.
labels would do the A&R, or the publishers would do it, and now they make the artist do all the work. You gotta set up all the interviews, you gotta book all the stuff, you gotta
Mhm.
go to conventions, you gotta go to the bookstores. It used to be that they would actually have bookers and book you, and
Oh,
actually get you into stuff, and now you have to do all that
do
yourself.
the bare minimum, bare minimum. And I found out recently, those books in the window of the bookstore, they have to pay for that.
Yeah, they always have to pay.
Hey, that's not free. Like, oh, a bestseller. No, you got to pay like a lot.
Like, opening acts today used to be it back in the day, opening acts were actually paid. Now opening acts for bands actually pay to be the opening act.
Because it's exposure.
Yeah, they'll actually pay, and sometimes they make these bands pay like 5,000, $10,000. It's like out of their money to get on be an opening act is like with a big band, like, so that you're hopefully you'll get pulled in. But that's not how it used to be. You would actually pick a band and you actually would get paid.
How do we deteriorate to this point? I mean,
Well,
is it
everybody's finding ways to make money
the
off the artist.
creativity isn't respected? Is that it? It's just like,
I think there's all the people who run the books have found out that, like, if they can get the artist to pay as much as possible, because
uh,
there's all these people trying to be artists, and instead of, like, funding them, like, they used to get a label who will fund you for, like, 3 albums, and then you could, like, develop it. Maybe by your 3rd album, you actually break through.
Yeah.
Now they actually say you have to pay to be on the label.
Insane. My book is now being distributed and promoted by Simon and Schuster, which is one of the top 5 publishers. So you'd think that would be great and give it a big leg up. No, it- I
They
don't know.
still gonna make you have to pay a lot, like, you have to book yourself
I,
and get on the radio and
I don't
get
do
on the TV, and if you gotta fly there, then they're not giving you the money to fly there, you gotta go pay
oh
for
no, they
yourself.
don't do anything and nothing. Maybe like Dan Brown or Stephen King or whatever,
Well, they'll get money, they get the
apparently Stephen King, my friend just told me, she's a writer, and she said Stephen King complained because he could write anything now, anything, and it will get published,
It was
not
like $1,000,000 right off the bat.
his name, and it could be total crap. He admitted it. It could be total crap, and it doesn't matter because of that name. So all you need is like 1 or 2 bestsellers.
Yeah, but you can break through that whole thing, but there's this whole ecosystem of the people, I would call them in the canon. Like
Yeah,
the can you get the people in the canon, like the people running the top 100 books, right?
yeah,
They're always gonna control all the headspace.
that's
And
right.
if they control that space, it's hard to break in. And sometimes you get these outliers that will break in,
It's
but
luck.
it's hard
It's luck.
because
You
they
know,
try to use the TikTok strategy to get like do some quirky thing to draw attention.
I'm too old for TikTok.
But that's like how people are like in the music business, like everybody finds a quirky thing to get onto TikTok and try to pull that in. And you've got like the older bands are like, they really don't know how to do it. And so when they try to do it, it comes off really bad.
Really bad. I know. I mean, all this makes my hair hurt. I just want to write. I
Yeah.
know. My friends like, forget the marketing, just write. If I had your talent, I would just write all day long. Yeah, but I
You have to
invest,
put the time in.
I
Yeah.
want I invested a lot. I wanted some reward.
Well, like
I
you said, like the audiobook is a good way to get in because a lot of people consume books that way.
yeah.
That's a cool to do it. And then getting on the circuit, you get into the book conventions, finding ways to get your book to be mentioned as much as you can. It's like it's all the SEO, all the stuff on the net to kind of drive it and figure out the keywords and all the stuff to
All
try to.
expenses though are time consuming. So if you pay somebody, it's thousands of dollars.
Mhm.
Like the cheapest publicist was $3,000 a month for a minimum of 3 months. To do what exactly?
Yeah, right. How do you measure that
And
they actually did
because
something?
they have no guarantee. Could you imagine? No guarantees. Like, okay, oh my God, I should have done
That's a
that.
good way for them to make money.
Insane. And then
It's like for business.
the social media publicist, very nice family, very nice. 1,700 a month. I had to dress my dog up in a Halloween costume to hold my book to take a picture, put that on Instagram.
Yeah, well,
That's
that's the
what
kind of stuff that Instagram likes. That's like the TikTok
oh
type of thing, the YouTube short kind of world. You
my
have
God.
to do
Does it
stuff that
sell books?
doesn't
I don't think so.
it doesn't always even connect to what you're doing. Like they
No.
have these trends that you have to get into, and it actually doesn't connect to your content,
Right.
but it connects to the trend. And then I'm like, well, what's the relationship?
It's and by the time you figure it out, something new has come along. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's changing all
yeah,
the time. It's like the algorithms change so much, like all the keywords,
yep,
all the hashtags,
yep.
all the tags, they change so much. They you think it's working one week and then you try it the next week and then no engagement.
This is about, a mom who, loses her child, and then 12 years later, the Vatican daughter, and there's 12 years later, she tries to get the child back. She loses her memory, tries to get the child back. So somebody said to me, you should appeal to like young mothers. They could relate to that. Like, how do I do that? My publisher's in charge of the Amazon thing,
Yeah.
and they don't care.
You gotta figure out how to tell the story. I mean, being a writer, I mean, we tell stories. And then the problem is with the net, we have to get a story to connect to somebody in 15 or 30 seconds.
That's right.
And like, how do you take
Elevator pitch.
a 60,000 or 200,000 word book and convey that in 15, 30 seconds?
15 words or something like that. It was like, okay, now write the synopsis in 15 words. Are you kidding me?
That's what they say. It's like, how do you do that?
How do you do that? I did it, but it was it's like, it doesn't do it justice, but what do you
Yeah, and that's the kind of world we're living in. Like when you like I said,
attention
it's like the
for the
60,000
free.
word book versus a 200,000 word book. Like I grew up more with the 200,000, 300,000 word book.
Yes,
People are be living in a world where they say it's gotta be like 50,000 words.
too short.
Yeah, I don't think you can. It's like I'm a musician, right? I'm not
A novel should be at least
200,
I don't know, 70,000 to
70, 80. Yeah.
at least. Otherwise,
'Cause
this
I'm
is
a I'm a back in the day, like a song should be like 5 minutes, and
yeah,
people are
not
telling me to
anymore. A minute and a half.
they say it should be like 210, 180, 1 minute 80 seconds. Like I can't get warmed up as the kind of musician most of my songs go like 6, 7 minutes. So,
Yeah,
like, I'm a different type of musician, so I have people who wanna hear that, but, like, it's like I'm not changing to just fit that 2 minute because
no,
that's not I can't get an
it's
idea through in 2 minutes.
it's because you know what? You know what it is? It's the Sesame Street generation, because remember Sesame Street?
Mhm.
All the clips were like
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
and that generated this whole, like, I don't wanna watch this for this long. These kids would sit in their high chair and watch these, little cartoony things or the Muppets or whatever, and it was fast. It was
and
on
everything's fast.
to the next, the hurried child.
I was even talking to a film director, and he said he can't have complicated plots
Why
because
not?
people
Doesn't
can't
that make you
receive
think?
they
Don't you
can't
think
figure it out. If I can't let people know what it's about, if they can't fi like, I love the 1960s, 70s movies because they're very slow and it's not obvious. Like,
because you
if
have
you
to think. Nobody wants to think anymore. They don't know how to think. They want it told to them. They wanna fast forward or
I say,
whatever.
"This is too slow." You show it like, a lot of kids are like, "Oh, I can't watch that, it's too slow." It's like, "What? It's too slow?"
Well, I have a lot of subplots in there, and the next one, Women of the Lesser God, has even more subplots. So the Pope gets
You
into
want to put the Easter eggs in, you want the subplots, you want it to
yeah,
be not so obvious,
the Pope
like
gets into way more trouble in the next book. So going to hell for sure. But that's
it's
okay.
like Victorian poetry, they're sneaking in concepts by kind of
Exactly. Yeah,
masking things and calling things different things, and then you're like, "Well, I like to be able to decode that."
that's right. That's what I had to do. I took lots of poetry classes. Became very good friends with the professor, PhD in literature, Neil Arditi and Sarah Lawrence, and learned so much because that's how you learn to think. They taught you how
Yeah.
to. Nobody wants to think anymore. They just want to.
But I think they wanna hand it to them, and I
Hmm.
think, eventually, I think people they might realize is, like, there's too much slop, there's too much noise, there's too much junk, and
I hope so.
I have heard people saying that they're actually going back and taking a shot at watching, like, a longer movie, like, going and watching, like, Orson Welles and The Third Man,
Mm.
or go watch,
Yeah,
like
we watched that stuff. We watched
yeah,
that black and white movies, and
yeah,
yeah,
I like looking at anything Orson Welles did because, like, the way he would approach it as an actor and a director, it was like the whole picture, like, he had this vision, and you could see his whole vision executed, and I'm like, that's what I like to get into.
last night I couldn't sleep. I'm not going to mention the name, but I was watching this mindless Netflix series. I
Mhm.
I could I could tell what was gonna happen next, what they were gonna say. Oh my god.
Transparent.
The dialogue was bad, everything was I mean, I
That's
don't know.
like even like modern movies, if they do a period piece, like, I don't know, The Odyssey, and I was kinda looking at it, I'm like, "Okay, that's cool," but why would they talk like they're talking like in a 2026 movie? Why
That's
are they talking like
another
they would talk in a comedy or in like a dramatic movie that comes out this year? Wouldn't they have some kind of relation
they
to
can't
to the to the actual text of The Odyssey?
they can't do it, you know why? I'll tell you, because I experienced that at Columbia. So, the story somebody was writing was set in the 1800s, and in this country in the 1800s in the West, and she couldn't say Indian, and I was like, it was the 1800s, for God's
You gotta
sake.
say what the time
Where's
period
Native
in Japan.
Americans in the 1800s? Every little thing was like, oh my God. I mean, I helped them a lot with medical stuff because everybody thinks they can write medical stuff and the stink of blood and all of that. And I was like, no.
And
So
be more realistic. Like, actually go talk to a nurse or a doctor and get some real information, you
yeah,
know?
that's the last professor I had, she was young and she ended up dying, but yeah, she didn't know what to do with me, and I didn't think she liked me. But then 2 years later, I went to some meeting, and her then classmates said, "She talks about you all the time, and how nice it was to have a nurse in the, somebody who was an expert on, hardly an expert, but
Yeah.
who knew that? Like they don't act like that, they don't
Oh,
never
yeah,
have.
sometimes your professors don't, like, let you know they like you.
They don't help you either. You would think. Yeah, so when I got to Columbia the first day, there were 75 fiction writers, and that was the biggest class they ever had. So the then chair stood up and said, "Oh, we'll always help you." Well, oh, that's what we're here for. We'll always help you. No,
Nobody came to help.
they don't help.
That's why I like, I don't know, I just to kind of point out, I wanna push my school, but, like, what I loved about going to a small liberal arts college like a Bowdoin is my professors, like, lived on campus. Their
That's
houses were, like,
insane,
there.
right?
And yeah, in Maine and Brunswick, and I used to be able to
That's
go
the
to my
food too,
professor's
right? They
house.
have good food.
Yeah, the food was awesome.
Yeah, I know, because I used to do college, help kids with their college essays, and they're
Bowdoin's, like, known for really good food, but the cool thing was, like, the TAs weren't teaching the class, the professors were teaching the class. Class size were, like, 15 to 20 kids,
that's good.
and you could actually go to the person's house and talk. I was at my
That's how
political
Sarah
science.
Lawrence was. Yeah,
Yeah, you could walk into his house and talk to him about the lecture,
yeah.
right? Drinking coffee, eating donuts, and talking to your professor and actually, like, having a conversation. That to me, it was like my brother went to a bigger school. He went to Brown, he couldn't do that. They didn't do that, but, I was like, I couldn't do it. I would go visit him at a Brown and say, "Well, I couldn't do this," because I
I
like the
could
way the small school was.
Yeah, I think that Sarah Lawrence was very much like that. It's very nurturing. In fact, every other week you had to meet with every professor because, to talk about what you were doing because there were no tests. You had to do, it was writing, pretty much a writing
Yeah,
class.
blue books and stuff and, like, oral
They
exam.
had to do massive amounts of writing, and like the last conference paper would be like 27
Right,
pages.
it's what I like about it. Like, I loved that I had blue books and tons of writing, tons of oral exams. There was no, like, SAT type of stuff.
No,
It was
no,
all actually critical thinking, Socratic method,
yeah.
really learn it,
I
and
love that. That was perfect, tailor-made for me. And, of course, I always, write a lot, but I had, like, amazing professors, but, of course, going to talk to them, it's good for kids that are away from home for the first time because they're somebody's eyeballing them and seeing if they're depressed or whatever.
yeah.
Me? They were asking me, "Oh, I think my wife has Lyme disease. What do you think we should do?"
So they're
Like,
asking you all the medical questions.
my first class at Columbia, the professor told everybody to go out and take a break except for me, and I thought, "I just got here. What the heck did I do?" And
What
it
did
was
you do
like
wrong?
she asked me medical advice. I was like, "Oh my god." Yeah, well, it's fun. It was fun though. I mean, the professors were
Which is an experience. It's cool, like, you were able to do that. My wife was an older student. She was like a Francis Perkins scholar at Mount Holyoke, and,
nice.
she actually went in when she was, like, in her 30s. Um,
Oh, that's young.
yeah, I mean,
That's young. I
it's
was
not like yeah,
yeah.
not the same as the kids, but I
I
mean,
didn't
that's it, like
care. People asked me, like, how did you do it? And I said, I laugh at myself first. If you laugh at yourself first, it's disarming. They don't know what to do. Maybe they laugh behind my back, but never made fun of
yeah.
me.
Well, I
You
think it's anytime you're willing to, like, keep on learning, I think it's a positive thing. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's super cool, and the fact, I mean, you got your book out there, and, we wanna let people know, that we do have the QR code for, and that will go to your the site that I just put the title of your book, but I'll go back to the
There's a
site.
link on the website to the Amazon for the book.
Yeah. So this if you
Or contact me, I'll send you. I have a slew of them here.
oh cool.
Contact
So
me and I'll send you a signed copy.
awesome. Well, I want people to make sure they scan that or click on the actual URL. That URL will be clickable on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick. We're also going to be on Spotify, VO Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and Apple Podcast by the end of the day tomorrow. And we'll put a landing page out for everybody to kind of pick whatever version they want to check. They want to back and go listen to it again.
How do I follow you? I need to follow you.
Fan Elected Ghost on multiple channels. You can follow me on Apple or Spotify or YouTube. I'm on Instagram as Fan Elected Ghost on Instagram. You can follow me there. But I want to thank you again for
Thank
being
you so much, and I hope to come back for when my next book comes out in the winter.
Oh, we do that. Like we have authors come back with anytime they have a book and they want to talk to us again. We have them come back. So yeah, just ping me on that.
I will. Thank you so much. This was great. You're awesome.
You.
You're really good at this. You should teach me how to do it.
Yeah, I look forward to it, and I'll get all this to you by 24 hours. But it's active on the LinkedIn and YouTube, so you can share those links.
Okay, I will. Thank you. So nice to meet you. Talk to you.
Bye.
Bye.